Awesome. All right. Welcome, everyone. Tonight's class is a really fun earrings project. We're going to be making, in that same, kind of romance theme that we've been working, a pair of earrings featuring pearls and a very cool stitch that looks a lot like a setting for the pearls. So it's an easy design. It's beginner friendly. And this is also recorded. So if there's anything where, I'm going too fast, or if there's something that you'd like me to go over again, feel free to mention that in the chat, but also just know there's a recording, and you'll be able to catch it in the replay. And I'll go ahead and show you guys the materials, and we can get started. Just switching to my other camera really quick. And get the light's working. Okay, so these are the earrings that this design is super similar to the bracelet design and the pendant design that we were doing in the last two classes, but with a twist. And it's one that you can use to make either a pair of earrings, or you could also make a pendant with this as well. And so here's like a pendant version that I did. It's hard to see, but I used some jasper with the matte black. So there's just so many places you can take this design. It's got a little chip instead of the drop there. But so sticking with that original theme, we were going for some spring glamour. And so I was having a really fun time finding some sparkly things at Michael's and combining them with pearls and things that might look like silver or gold. And so if you guys remember from the original bracelet we had, that was, tried to make it look golden, and this one is like a platinum setting for a pearl. And the materials I used, these are some little faceted glass drops. They're the same ones we were using last week if you have those handy. And then for this colorway, and this is the one that's in the handout, there are these kind of like half coat silver. They have some real neat sparkles to them. SuperDuo beads. And these are a size 8 silver lined crystal. And when you put those together, you get this just wow factor of sparkle. So I thought that looked really cool. And then the pearls. These are a gray marble. They look, it's hard to see the the depth to the color. They have like what looks almost like an oil slick finish to it, or marbling that just gives it real dimension. So really fun to play with that. And then as far as the earring findings, there's options for this. What you're seeing here is something that I found later. The samples in the handout are made with lever backs, and this is what I'm going to be using in class today, because that's what's in the handout. But when I was playing with this other sample, I found these. These are on the creations wall, and I will be using these in other projects because those are so cute. But the ones that are on this earring are just the little rhinestone, sparkly, clear ones there. And then, so for the medium, that it's stitched with Wildfire. Today I'm using black, but I did make these samples with a white thread. And then the beading needles I'm using are going to be number 12s. You can use 10s. It's not super difficult to get a 10 through this design, but the 12s will make it just all the much easier. Some scissors to cut your thread. And then we'll use some chain nose pliers if you're going to open and close a jump ring. With the lever backs, you won't have to, but you'll need these to flatten the Wildfire. So if you have a pair of chain nose or square nose handy, that's pretty much all of it. And so I'll go ahead and get started with building the first one. And I'm going to use different colors today, just our usual Zoom colors, so that it would be easier to see. Those silver would be a real challenge. So I'm switching over to our bright primaries. And I'll probably bring in some wooden beads again, the ones we were using in the earlier classes. I'll bring in some of these wooden ones. You want to cut about 60 inches, and that's plenty of thread. You'll be able to finish your earring without adding thread. And here's that trick for getting the needle threaded. that I was mentioning earlier is just to go ahead and flatten it, not in a pulling motion, but just holding it, you know, in the pliers without moving it. And that trick, I learned that from Meredith at Beadalon for how to get Wildfire, and even 0.008, you could get that through a tiny size 12 with that trick. And so that's what I'm using here. A little size 12 beading needle. I'm just going to pull it down, you know, a few inches. And then go ahead and grab the other end of this strand. So as with the last two, we're still going to work this design with 2 needles, one on each end. And it makes for a really quick stitch up. And I did get asked, oh, can I work this with 1 needle? And you just have to go up one side and back down the other. And there's a couple spots where it's a little tricky, but it isn't impossible to do with 1 needle. So by all means, if you're experienced with bead weaving, give that a try. But I just found that this was a little faster for getting started, especially. Okay, and so once you've got a needle on each end, you want to go ahead and get your crystals. So I'm using these ones that I just showed, the little faceted glass drops. You don't have to use those if you don't want to. You can use like a Czech glass drop, or like I showed on this other sample, you could pull in a chip. That's just a little chip bead. Just anything you have that you like. And then you'll want to go ahead and bring that on one of the needles. So I'm just going to pick up one side. And then bring those needles together and find the midpoint. So bring the crystal down to the midpoint of the thread. I'm sorry, my keyboard tray is getting in the way. I'm just going to close that really quick. There we go. All right, so once that's on the middle, we're going to need some size 8 seed beads. And so last week, if you guys remember, if you were here last week for the pendant class, above the pendant here, we were experimenting with either using some size 10 seed beads or some 8s. And I was explaining how you might need to play with that if you're using a different stone, or if you're trying to get a different look or a different length. So there's a lot of potential to change it up if you want at this spot. I found that both the 10s and the 8s both looked pretty good, so I just kind of interchangeably have been using those with this bead. But definitely with my other designs, there was one the other day that I was making where I definitely felt like the 10 looked better. So just play with it and see with you know, what you like. So you'll want to pick up 2 size 10s on each of the needles and just bring those down. And you want to get the SuperDuos out. You only need 1 color of SuperDuos, but I'm going to work with 2 today so that you can see the different passes, the different rows. And so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to try to explain first before I start just stringing stuff. I'm going to create a series of those right angle weave segments that we did before. I'm going to show you what it looks like. It might help. So I'm going to create something like this. So we've put these 2 on, the 2 size 8 seed beads on either side of our crystal drop. And then I'm just going to go through 1 more bead. And I'm going to take the needle through in opposite directions, each of the needles. Then I'll start stringing SuperDuos on either side, and then bring them together again through a bead, and then create a right angle weave square. So let's do that part. So the first thing I'll want to do is pick up another size 8 bead, bring that down, and bring the other needle through it in the opposite direction. And this, let's see, this drop has, the drill's a little bit sideways, so it looks a little sideways, but it's, I feel that the shaping of the seed beads above it are the right size for it. So I'm going to stick with that. And now I'm going to pick up 4 SuperDuos and 4 size 8s interchanging. So, and do that with both sides. So here's one SuperDuo, size 8, and a SuperDuo, size 8, SuperDuo 8. Okay, and then there's one more SuperDuo. There's one side. I'm going to match what I did on this side with this other one. And then I forgot to mention the SuperDuo beads are 2-hole beads. And for this step, it doesn't matter which hole you pick up. Just whichever one your needle finds. Just go ahead and get that bead. And then later we'll use the other hole of that bead to turn or to attach our outside row. So you should have 4 SuperDuos on either strand with 8s in between them. Once you have that, pick up a size 8 on one of the needles and bring the other needle through in the opposite direction. Oops. Where'd that go? There it goes. And you can either do that on the needle or just, on the thread after you brought it down a little bit, whichever is easiest for you. So there's one round. And I'm going to create a little right angle weave square. So there's 2 size 8s and 1 size 8 on the other needle. And then just cross through that top bead. And bring that down. And so super similar to what we were doing in the other classes, but what we're going to do next is add on another segment above it that's just a little bit smaller. And the goal being is to create a setting that's good for an 8mm bead, and then a 6mm bead, and then a 4. So the next segment will have 3 SuperDuos. So there's 3. And bring that down. Get 3 on this side. Okay, and kind of the same thing as before, or the same thing. Bringing one bead on one of the needles and then crossing through it. And so I'm going to build another one of these segments, just like we did before, up here. So 2 more on one needle and then 1 on the other, and across. Does anyone have any questions so far about this? I know I'm going a little fast. You feel free to jump in, and no problem, I can answer it. But so I just added that segment, and I'm going to go ahead and bring the diagram over so I can show you what's going on here. So I added this one, and then I added the segment on top. So we're through this part. And now I'm going to do one more. This is going to be the case for our little setting for our 4mm pearl. So I just want to create that and then another one of these on top. So that's just 2 SuperDuos for that one. And then 1 size 8 bead. And we'll cross. All right, almost to the top. Here's 2 8s on one needle, and then 1 8 on the other, and just going through that top bead there. Okay, so there's the base frame there, already set. And this top segment here, it's loose and it's wiggly. And so to save myself, hassling with that, I'm going to reinforce it. So I'm just going through. Oops, I caught my earring over here. Here we go. Going through it one time. And it doesn't matter which needle you select for doing this. It could be either. And I'm just coming through there. I'm going to pull that down tight. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to put 2 SuperDuo beads in between each of these. So I'm going to switch over to my red color. And I need to get there. So at this time, I'm at the top here, going through this top bead. I want to get over here to go through the second hole of these beads. And if you remember from earlier, they have 2 holes. So so the bead is symmetrical and there are 2 holes, but once I've strung them, I'll start referring to the one on the outside as the top hole and the one on the inside as the bottom hole. Or you could just say the outside and the inside. So I'm going to go through the size 8 bead that's here. And I'm going to go through the top hole or the outside hole of that SuperDuo bead. So the cool thing about SuperDuo is you get this extra real estate with the bead for, additions like this. And so 2 SuperDuos, go through the next top hole or outside hole. And then I want to travel down to the top hole here, but I need to get through this 8. So I'm going to keep going through that size 8 bead. And then now I'm at the outside hole of the next SuperDuo. And so same thing, I'm just going to put 2 SuperDuo beads here. Wouldn't it be cool to make one of these that was ombre? So like from light to dark. That would be kind of neat. Got 2 more SuperDuos. I'm going through the outside hole of the next one. And there's that segment. Now I'm going to go through this 8 just like before so I can travel to the next set. And I'm not pulling super hard. So I think as far as the tension that I'm using, because I haven't done this other side yet, I'm trying to be pretty gentle. I can tighten this entire side up from down here when I get there. So right now I'm just getting the beads on, on the places they need to be. 2 more, the top hole. Okay, when you reach the last one, remember we've been treating these size 8 beads as our way to get from the outside hole through. So I'm going to do the same thing here. So this is that last SuperDuo. The inside hole is connected to that size 8. The outside hole, I'm going to bring it just down through the ones that are above our crystal. So just coming down through these 2 here. And now I'm going to leave this one aside for now and just copy what I did on this side. So I've got to go through the 8 and the top hole of the next SuperDuo. And if it's helpful to you with working the other side, you can flip it and get that needle out of the way. This was helpful to me earlier if you're right-handed, and of course left-handed, just doing the opposite. So going through the top hole and then through the 8. Oh, and then of course I've got to go through the top hole of the next SuperDuo. Earlier when I was making my this one, I got really excited and I started going too fast, and I went straight from this 8 to adding 2 SuperDuos, and I jumped to here and I got all the way to the bottom before I noticed it. So it happens, but thought I'd warn you guys. And then I'm adding just 2 through the next top There we go. All right, and so travel again through the 8. Top hole of the next one. And then 2 more. I just got a few more to go here. Last one. And just like we did with the other side, I'm going to just come down through those 2 size 8s that are above my crystal. Okay. And that's already super cute just as it is. That would make a great earring. But if you want to bring on an additional layer to it, I'm going to use these wooden beads, and you'll need 1 8mm bead. So these are 10mm. I'm going to get those out of there. Here's an 8 and a 4. And I need a 6. Where's my little 6s? Or is it 4s that I'm missing? I think I got out of that. That should work. But if you're doing the pearl version, on the pearl version, you'll have everything you need already here. You won't need the 10s for this one, but you can use it for last week's class. For this one, you'll just need these 8s and the 6s and the 4mm. Okay, and so starting with the 8. Ooh, it's trying to escape. There it is. And it doesn't matter now at this point which side you use. You can pick one. Pick the one that's longer. Let's see. For me, that's this one on this side. But it doesn't matter which side you come up. It's going to be the same stitch regardless. But I'm going to go through the crystal. And then come up through those two beads on the side. And once you get through these 2, so where we're going to add the bead here in the center, we want to be on the inside hole, on the inside track here, not on the outside where we just added these SuperDuos. So what I'm going to do is go through this 8. This is like those right angle weave turns that we did a little bit ago, so that I can get to the inside track here. Because from these 2, I would only be able to go this way, where you'd see my thread kind of crossing the intersection there. So now I'm just traveling up that inside hole of the SuperDuo and the corresponding seed beads that are between them. And for the theme for how these are made is you're just attaching the bead to the center bead, and that's going to be a different bead on every single one. It happens that with this one, my center bead is the 8. And then when I come up here, my center bead is going to be the SuperDuo, and it'll be the 8 again up here. So I want to get to this 8. So I'm just weaving till I get there. And then I'm going to pick up my bead. Oops, where'd it go? There we go. And go through. And so right now my thread's coming out of the top of that bead. The top being, this is the top and this is the bottom. And my thread's coming out of the top of that bead. I've picked up my new bead, sorry, my focal bead. And now I want to go in the opposite direction so we can make like a figure 8. And here's how that looks. The figure 8, you're out of the top of the bead here. You go through the bead, and then you come up through this size 8 over here, and then cross back over. So if I'm at the top here, I want to come up from the bottom of the center bead on this side to kind of simulate that little figure 8 look. Just through the center size 8 bead. Once you've got that, you're going to pull tight. Come back through. And we want to go from bottom to top through that bead, and then we've completed that figure 8. And if it will let you, go ahead and just continue on through the next beads. Looks like I can get through the next SuperDuo and the next 8 here. We're going to have to go through all those, so if you can, and catch them on that pass. And then just keep going. And when you get to the next segment, go through the 8. So that size 8 bead there. And we're going to use this to turn. So coming up through this size 8 bead, turn this way. And I'm going to travel up this side, inside, until I reach that center SuperDuo. Grab my 6mm bead, go through. Same thing as before, we're going to catch the center bead in the opposite direction. Where'd that go? Through that way. And if it's a little loose, so right now mine is loose because I didn't pull very tight, it will actually let you straighten it still once you're on the other side. So you don't have to worry too much about it. Okay, from bottom to top, through the center bead. And it's coming right along. So now I want to get up here. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to just keep going. And I'm going to travel through this, this right angle weave turn here. And through that way. And up through the center bead, which is a size 8 seed bead for this one. And now I need a little 4mm. Bring that on. And then go through the one on the other side, the center bead on the other side, coming from the bottom to the top. Back through the bead. I'm using wooden beads, so my needle keeps getting stuck in there. All right. And then over here, I'm going to go from bottom to top on that center size 8 seed bead. Okay, and when you get the top, go through the right angle weave turn like we did for the last 2 spots here. Up this side. And then now I'm at the top bead. And it's ear wire time. So I'm going to get my ear wires. These are lever backs. I like them because they're a little thicker than trying to use a jump ring or even like a fish hook for a design like this where I'm going to have it take the place of a seed bead. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create another right angle weave segment. And that segment is going to use the lever back as its top bead. They're also really pretty and shiny, so I thought they looked really nice with the earrings. But alternatively, if you're using those other, if you're using these, you would just use a jump ring to get that to attach. But so for me, I'm going to go through. If you're using the lever back, just be careful you've got the front side in the right position. Pick up one size 8 bead and then come through that lever back. Another size 8, and then go back through the bead that we were exiting before. And what you'll get is your lever back ear wire will sit right on the top like that. And then go ahead and reinforce that 2 times just by going through those 3 beads. That was once. And there's 2 times. Okay. And on the second pass, I didn't go through this bead, which was our original top bead. I didn't go through that one because I want to embellish the side. I want to fill in those little spaces. So I'm going to pick up another size 8. and go through. This is, in right angle weave, this is called crossing the intersection, but I'm going to put a bead on it so you don't see my thread. If I did this without a bead, you would see the thread passing from here to here. But with a bead on it, it makes it look like a little flower. So I thought that looked cool. I really liked it. So I just want to repeat what I did on the other side. So now I'm traveling. I went through that bead, come up through this one. I'm going to pick up another bead here, size 8 seed bead, and go through that one. So now all we have left to do is weave in down here and up here. And there's the earring. And the back looks really cool too. I always like the way that looks. And so this is the general idea for how to do a lot of different stuff. And I don't know if anyone caught our video from, we posted it to the Facebook group, but this was made the same exact way that we just made this earring. It introduced a 4mm, a 6, an 8, and then we went crazy and put a 10 on there. And the 10 is just 5 SuperDuos, right? We had, for our 8mm, we had 4. For a 10mm, we had 5. You could even go 6 and put a 12mm on there. So this is where it has so much potential, and you can really go crazy with ideas. And then the other day I was just playing with the same concept, and I made what I was going for something different, and then I ended up making a little dragonfly. I put some more beads coming down. But there's just a lot of really great stuff you can do. Let me show you weaving in really quick, and of course, if there's any questions, just holler. But from where I am here, I do need to go through that lever back again, and then I'm going to go through all these little side beads again. And so where you like to weave in is totally up to you. I like to look for somewhere that's loose if I need to, you know, fix anything. And I don't really see anything on this one, but I'll just go through the side here. And keep going. And the same concept applies to this earring that would apply to all of our, you know, woven designs, where if you want to knot, you can, but if you want to weave in, changing direction 3 times is a great way to know that you've got it. So since we have these little right angle weave segments here in the center, that's super handy because you can use them to turn, and that's what I'm doing now. Just turning around through them. So you could say that was 2 turns, or 2 changes in direction. And I'm going to do that one more time. I'm just going to come down here, go through these guys. And I'm exiting from the outside hole, so I need to be careful not to try to go through an inside size 8. I want to go down through this one. And then just turn. And then you can trim your thread. And I had a suggestion for trimming thread that I wanted to share really quick. And if you're using a burner, you won't have to really worry about this as much, but if you're going to trim it with scissors like I'm about to, go ahead and take your thread. So here I've exited from, it looks like I'm on the inside hole of that SuperDuo. I'm just going to push through to the back, flipping it over, pull it through the back. And I'm going to do my trim on the back so that if there is a stray little thing, you won't see it. And I trimmed that under tension. So I was kind of pushing down with the scissors and pulling up with a thread to make it hopefully pop back in. And it looks like it did. So I feel like it's pretty good. And it's the same concept here for the bottom. Just to weave in, just kind of need to travel around to get where you need to be and make that same kind of turn. And then, so while I'm down here, another question I was asked about, could you make this design just like this, but without this drop on it? Absolutely. You could either finish it with something like this and maybe do a charm, or if you wanted to, instead of putting you know, a little segment down here, you could just leave it off and just let it be round like that. And that would be cute. And if this was a design where you had 5, that center bead would be a SuperDuo. And you could go all the way around and make a big circle. So that's something to think about if you're going to move up to a 10mm bead, and you can, that's something I feel like trying, because I hadn't thought of it until I got the messenger about that. So if you try it, post it. If you're here tonight, you can definitely try it, and I will too. So yeah. Oh, 36 minutes. Carmi, I didn't make it. I'm 6 minutes over the 30-minute mark.
Oh my goodness. So you did know we were betting on you. Ashley, you made it, because we all noticed you started 6 minutes into the class. So it was 30 minutes bang on. Congratulations. I would hope that everyone watching would be able to make one of these beautiful earrings in 30 minutes with some practice and training. But you have enough time to at least show them a second time how to start the beginning, which is the most important part. And people would love to see your black earring. The other one, it's really hard. The light is impossible to see it.
Yeah, and I apologize for that. It's so, let me see. I do have a brighter light I can bring close. Let me see what I can do here. It's the same stitch, and I used our size 8 opaque black seed beads. And these are the matte black SuperDuos. And these beads here are on the strung wall. They're in the semi-precious section, and they're jasper. And it's one of those multi-strand sets that comes with the 4. The 6 is cool because it's faceted. And then there's the 8. And then I threw the chips that are on the 4th strand on the bottom. You'll have to select for that. You'll have to dig around in the, you know, the pile of chips there and find the one that you think looks kind of top drilled, I guess. But yeah, then you can really do some fun stuff with that one.
The black mat would be really hard to teach with, but they should definitely take a look at it.
I think it's really cool. I like it. I'm definitely going to finish the second one on that. So
Danielle, I'm going to watch the time with you. Maybe if you could make a shorter version of the next one, people would love to see how you attached that new binding. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking is I could just make a single one. You know, one, this has 3, but what if we just made one with just 1?
Exactly.
That would be really pretty. Okay, so I'm just really quickly flattening the ends of my Wildfire. And then get those needles back over here. This one's a true 12, so it's teeny tiny. There we go. Helps to be nearsighted for sure. And I've got an extra one up here. It's funny, I'm so blind if I take out my contacts that I can't read my phone if I'm holding it in my hand at like a normal distance from my face, but I can see the bead really well. It's just really close. Super duper nearsighted. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna grab another one of these. I'd also love to see one of these made with one of those, like, you know, those bib necklace gemstone strands that they have on the wall there at Michael's. They're like, they come with a bunch of different like long gemstones, and they all kind of go together in like a bib. One of those at the bottom of this earring would be super cool and super statement as well. I'd love to see that. Okay, so I brought the crystal to the middle, and I added the size 8 beads on either side. I'm going to pick up one more size 8 and bring my other needle through it in the opposite direction to close off that little connection there. Let's go for a big circle. So I'm going to start with the 4. There's the 4 for that side. And there's 4 for that side. Okay, I'm going to bring up a size 8 bead here and cross it. That'll join those two together. And that crystal is taller than my last one, but it'll be fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and do 2 size 8 beads on one needle and then 1 on the other. And then do that same thing again where we cross through the top one. All right. And so since this is just going to be a single drop, I'm going to go ahead and reinforce this top one. And it doesn't matter which strand you choose for that. You can use just whichever one you've got. Okay, so that's a lot tighter. And then again, I want to travel to get to this outside through the outside hole of the SuperDuo. So I'm going to go through the 8 and the top hole of the next one. And then I'm going to put 2 SuperDuo beads in between each one of the inside ones. Move to the bottom here. Okay, I'm going to leave that one just aside for now, but I am going to flip it because I'm right-handed and I want to work this side over here like that. And again, I'm just going to go through that 8. And then top hole of that next SuperDuo bead. And there's 2 in between each one. Okay, and then going through the 2 on the side here. So we just made one little circle there. And now I'm going to travel through the crystal and come back up through those 8s on the other side. And tighten that. And remembering that I want to be on the inside track here. So to get there, I want to go through that 8. It's going to put me on the other side. And I got through that SuperDuo. So I went ahead and went through that one. Next 8, next SuperDuo, next 8. And so for this, this segment, our center bead is that size 8 bead. I'm going to pick up a focal bead. It's my 8mm wooden bead there. And come up through here. So I came up from bottom to top through the 8 on the other side that's in the center. And come back through the focal bead. And then go through that center 8 on the other side from bottom to top. And then continue up through the rest of that side. And then through that 8, the joining 8 there. Okay, now we're at the top. Keep going. Okay. I've picked up one size 8 bead. And now I want to add, the way these look when they come off of the card is you'll see this, and then you'll need to put a jump ring to connect it because we want it to face forward like that. If we stitched it on just like this, the way it comes off the card, it would be sideways. So we are going to need a jump ring. And then we'll need one of these. And if anyone wants the part number on that, let me know. I can read it off the back. I'm going to grab a jump ring from one of my findings packs.
Danielle, I'm going to ask you to read out that part number.
Sure. Yeah, it caught my eye. I couldn't even walk past this, and then I went back and got another one so I could show it because I used all the other ones that I had. It's going to be 106 308 72. And again, that's 106 308 72. You'll just want to type that in on your app and it'll come up. And then if you're online shopping, just remember you're going to need some jump rings. And the finishes are gold and silver. So if you're wanting to use those gold ones, you want to grab some gold jump rings too. Or mix your metals, which is totally okay. And I need to get on the trend there. Let's see. I'm going to grab some more pliers. I have this one here. This is the findings pack that you see on the findings wall, and it has 3 different size jump rings in it. I'm using the mid-size one. So not the smallest or the biggest one, but just that kind of, I think it's a 6mm jump ring, or somewhere between 5 and 6. And so I'm getting my bent nose pliers. Open that up. And go ahead and just close it, and close it really tight. Get that little click. It's a lateral motion to open and close a jump ring. Okay. And so this part, it's going to look a little wonky while I'm doing it, but stick with me because it's going to move around and those 8s can fit through our jump ring, but it'll work. So I had an 8 on there. I went to the jump ring, picking up another 8, and then just going through that top bead again. So really kind of the same thing we did before, but with the little added complexity of and then of course making sure that it's facing forward. You got your sparkly side on the front. So that looks like it's working to me. So I'm going to keep going. Reinforce it 3 times. So that was 1. Here's 2. And here's my 3rd pass through there. And when you add your 3rd reinforcing pass, don't go through the starting one. Just, stay exiting from that. And then you'll need another 8 and go through the next 8. So crossing that intersection. Pull that tight. And I'm going to turn. So I'm going to go through, going through that 8 there. And the next one in the turn here. Ooh, it jumped. There you go. And then one more 8 through the next one, crossing that intersection there. Okay. So there's that pretty flower again. That's kind of the same thing we made before, but with the bonus of having a sparkly. And it actually kind of brings the design together because we had the sparkle down here, so it pulls it to the top too. And so to weave in, you'd want to go through the jump ring again. And I usually catch the earring post in that, so you just want to kind of watch that earring post. And then go down through all 3 of those beads and find somewhere to weave in. So here I'm here. I'm on an outside bead. So go through my outside bar here. And there's less real estate to weave in, but it's such a quick stitch up that you could just knot here and it would be okay. Another tip from earlier is go ahead and attach your post now, the back of it, because I guarantee if you don't, you'll lose it. I lost mine earlier and I had to just pull one off the other pack that I had because I couldn't find it. It's down there somewhere. But yeah. So that's a really cute way to end the earring. So you can do that or the lever backs. Both really cute. let's see. That actually brings me to another idea that I wanted to share. If Carmi, would it be okay to talk about next week's class?
Yes. If
Well,
I'm just wondering, would you happen to have the bracelet from the original Regency cuff class there?
yeah, I have this colorway.
Someone just wanted to have a little bit of a look at that.
Yeah, and this one, it ends the same way. So like the way we just did the stitch on here to get the jump ring connected or the lever back, it's the same exact way to put on one of these magnetic clasps, or if you're using, for example, a toggle clasp. The same way there.
Thanks, Danielle.
Yeah.
And thank you for showing us 2 ways to do the earring posts.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. That's what, these are so pretty. So, and so the class next week, I was going to show you guys, it can be a pendant or an earring, but we're going into summer and some cute statement earrings are on the menu. At least for, for me, we had our first week of sun last week. And so I was happy to have something a little just more, lightweight, but very statement. So that's the cool thing about next week's class is we're going to make, a first really summer style earring. And this handout does not call out an earring post. It just says use the ear wires or fish hook or whatever of your choice, or put it on a chain. Well, the ones that I'm wearing today, I did put on an earring post. And I found that that was really cute. And so I wanted to share the part number for that because it's not in the handout. And while we were talking earring posts, it reminded me, I don't have 2 of these, so you can't see all the options, but they're kind of like, they're all tortoisey in color and different. They're all different, but I used kind of just the more neutral one of the pack. And that one is 106 309 56. If you like it. But when when you go to look at the other posts we had, you'll see there's more options like this. This is not comprehensive of all the earring post options. There's lots of them.
Danielle, I saw that you were wearing those earrings tonight, and I just love them. Are they heavy? How do they feel on your ear?
No, they're so light because these are super light. These are wooden. They're actually for macrame. But when I saw them, the first thing I thought is, oh, I want to stitch on that. And they are in the same section as the earring posts. So it kind of just gives you the whole flow of the idea of what you can do there. If you can't find these, because I know they're, all the Michaels are different across the country. There are other options that will work for next week's class if you can't find these. There's several different shapes. And I believe this design will work with a flat shape and a round shape. A round shape will be easier to simulate this look. So there's also these some of you guys might have these handy because Sarah used them in her class last Saturday. So if you have these left over, you can use them here. And then there's also these. I found these on the same location as those other bars, and this is the same shape. So you'll be able to get that to work. So preference for the round, but if you can't find a round one, we can make it work with a straight bar too. Yeah, and so that's next week. Next week's class, the window pane earring or pendant, and super lightweight. And then okay, and so then the classes after that, I have those. If we've got time to take a we do. Got time to take a look at those. I love stitching, but I do also really love some wire work. And then multi-layer necklaces are just so in right now. So I thought, well, why don't we do an epic multi-layer 2-part class? And we were talking about this when it was still wintertime, and I was just like, yes, let's do that. So the handout has a lot of stuff in it. It's all optional. There's so many ways you can substitute. But the general premise is we're going to create a wire wrapped pendant, and I'm going to show you guys how to do this little swirl. And then we're going to create our own bar focal. So this is 18 gauge wire with some twisted 22 gauge going around it. Or I believe that actually the twisted is 20 gauge going around with some gemstones. You can also do this with seed beads. Gemstones or seed beads will work. So that's part 1. And then in part 2, we're going to experiment with putting it all together and stringing it with different mediums. So bead stringing wire, Supple Max. Supple Max is cool if you're making to sell because it's really affordable. You get a lot of it and it's really easy to use and you can finish it all kinds of neat ways. So I was going to just spend a class talking about finishing different strung things and with the focus on using your seed beads as a stringing medium. So that's that class. It's actually a 2-part class. So part 1 is the focals, and then part 2 is putting it together. And then for part 2, if you missed part 1 and you didn't make the focals, that handout has suggestions for ready-made ones that are at Michael's. So you don't have to have all these things, done. And then after that, I'm actually wearing the one that's after that. When we were talking last week about, if you're designing to sell your work, the hardest thing is to get things that fit. Well, I'm having trouble getting this off, but we're going to work with the bracelet design board and create a multi-wrap bracelet. And I'm going to show you guys how to make it adjustable. So this is just made with 1 loop, but we'll play around with getting the sizing right, getting the focal beads to sit in the right place on your wrist, and also using seed beads as like a pseudo knot to make, the stringing material flow around your wrist. So that'll just be a nice, way to talk through, hey, how can I make fast jewelry that's really cute? Get the sizing right for multiple people. So that'll be a really fun one. And then by then we're all gonna be wanting to stitch again. So I got a stitching project after that. And sorry for the color. I will definitely have different colors for you to show next week, but this is a herringbone stitch crystal band. And it's pretty epic. So this is for your summer nights out. And really fun. So that's what's coming up in May. Lots of fun stuff. I'm gonna switch back to my other camera here. And I got my earring back on. Yeah. And so that's all of the things we have coming up. And looking forward to seeing you guys next Friday for the window pane earrings. And have a great weekend. Wishing you a great weekend as well. Bye, everyone.